What is going on, everybody? It's the Francis Wayne here for AEW Rampage and SmackDown review for February the 11th, 2021. I was in the middle of recording this, and I noticed that my microphone was on mute, so I spent about, 10, 15, 20 minutes just talking to myself. Tonight's show for SmackDown was absolutely atrocious. We had a damn good women's title match at the end of the show. Vince McMahon, via email, ripped Sonya Deville for being the blatant abuse of power that she has had. We'll talk about that all here in a bit. But let's talk about AEW's Rampage. Young Bucks versus Roppongi Vice opened the show. This was a damn good match. I have no prior viewing or knowledge of the Roppongi Vice and Young Bucks rivalry. I did not watch New Japan Pro Wrestling until I knew about it. AJ Styles was there. That's where Finn Balor came from. That's where the Good Brothers came from in 2016, as well as AJ. But I never really got around to finding any way of watching it until Chris Jericho went to face Kenny Omega. I watched all that go down. Cody was there, of course, at one time, too. And honestly, Chris Jericho going to face Kenny Omega was a big proponent to a lot of people watching New Japan Pro Wrestling. And it's just like I say with anything else. You go for the big star, but you stay for the talent. If there's good talent there, then you're going to stick around. And it's like, I always bring up What Culture Pro Wrestling and the fact that I knew nothing about that entire lineup of talent they had except for Jay Lethal. When they brought Jay Lethal in, and I watched him wrestle Noam Dar, that was a damn good match. There was another match he had too. I can't remember who he faced, but it's like, they had that match with him and Noam Dar while I believe he was still the Ring of Honor champion. But bringing him in, and I see, wow, there's Gabriel Kidd, who's a part of New Japan Pro Wrestling right now. Joe Hendry, Rampage, and Rampage Brown, and all these other talents that were there. Nixon Newell, a.k.a. Tegan Knox, who I can't wait to see her in AEW if she comes to AEW. That's one of the big things, that was one of the great things about Chris Jericho going to work New Japan, is that he opened it for so many other people to watch. And yeah, Okada's a big name over there. Omega was, the Bucks were, but none of them were big here, as big as they could be. So yeah, Chris Jericho, I knew nothing of Roppongi Vice versus Young Bucks. They talked about it a lot here, which was very smart to do, because I'm sure I'm not the only one who was going, I don't know anything about a rivalry between these two teams. I don't know anything about the fact that the Bucks were 7-time tag team champions. Rocky Romero is an 8-time tag team champion with 3 different partners, so he has the most title reigns of all. Roppongi Vice themselves were 4-time tag team champions. They battled each other for 4 years, I believe is what they said. It was 3 or 4 years, 2015 to 2019, something like that. I wouldn't say that. No, that's wrong. It was 2 years, maybe 2 or 3 years. 2015 to 2018, something like that. I don't know. But they had a lot of fights together. And that was great that Excalibur was on hand to talk about that, because, yeah, to me it was just Rocky Romero, which I've seen him wrestle a couple times, Trent Beretta, we all know how good he is, and the Young Bucks. This was a really good match. Good opener. We had a good tag team match to finish the show with the tag team titles on the line. A useless, worthless, pathetic attempt by the women's champion to wrestle a jobber and look bad in the end. And then Hook just destroyed QT Marshall's biggest, secret weapon. Which, yeah, I don't know. Again, really good match between Roppongi Vice and Young Bucks. We had no entrances, which really, I think, did a disservice. You have Roppongi Vice for, one time, for probably the first and only time you're going to have these guys together on this show, and you're going to have them come out and have their entrance before the show starts, or that's just so dumb. Absolutely dumb. Entrances are a big part of professional wrestling, and just having all 4 men in the ring, I mean, yeah, it makes this this is a serious match, and we need to take this seriously. But it also takes away, because this is probably the only time you're going to have Roppongi Vice wrestle together. I don't know, just kind of stupid. Now, early on in the match, the Bucks were just getting fed up, and they're like, you know what, we're getting out of here. We're just going to go. You guys can win by DQ, by countout. We don't care. Of course, Roppongi Vice is not having any of that shit. They go after them. They get double super kicked. They leave them for dead after they beat them down some. They head back to the ring. Rocky Romero, who is the legal man, barely makes it back in. So, going on, this match is doing great. Danhausen makes an appearance, curses both the Young Bucks, allowing Roppongi Vice to take them both down with the tope suicidas through the ropes. We got ourselves, Roppongi Vice hit a Doomsday Device, but Matt Jackson lands on his feet, gets Romero up in the Meltzer Driver, and the Bucks hit it. Beretta breaks up the pin. Bucks clear up Beretta and hit the BTE trigger on Marrero for the 1, 2, 3, and the Young Bucks pick up the win over Roppongi Vice. After the match, Brandon Cutler comes in, and there's Orange Cassidy checking on Romero. He gets up, turns around, and fucking Cutler takes his spray and sprays him in the face, but he's wearing sunglasses. Idiot. So he gets an orange punch for his troubles. Young Bucks super kick him. Beretta clears the ring, but all of a sudden, Switchblade Jay White from behind hits the Blade Runner, and that is that. Those two will be going one-on-one next week on Friday night. Switchblade Jay White will make his AEW in-ring debut on Rampage, and what will most definitely be a win. You're not going to have Jay White come in to lose to Trent Beretta. I mean, come on. So, back from break, and Powerhouse Hobbs is at commentary desk. Ricky Starks announced that it will be Hobbs versus Dante Martin in a Face of the Revolution qualifying match on Rampage next Friday. Next week's show is going to be at a special start time of 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time due to All-Star Friday night. This is the week of next week is the All-Star Weekend. So, AEW will be going ahead, which is fantastic, and I hope for a big number. And then Warner Media going, I know it's fine where it's at, but let's put this at 7 o'clock, which I would be fine with. Watch this, then watch SmackDown for 2 hours. I wouldn't have a problem with that. So everything could be done at 10 instead of 11. That would be fantastic. Tony Schiavone is backstage with Bryan Danielson. He wants his reaction to John Moxley team with CM Punk. He's like, there's no big deal. The deal with Moxley and CM Punk and my deal with Moxley are two totally different things. I want a long-term relationship with him. That was a one-night stand, and that's all it was. Matt Sydal and Lee Moriarty wander into the scene. Sydal is very offended that Danielson dropped Moriarty's name and said he needs to get away from his teachings. Danielson said Moriarty needs to be taught violence. Moriarty's like, listen, guys, I don't want you guys talking like I'm not here. He's like, if you want violence, Danielson, I'll show you violence. Danielson's like, that's what I want to see. That's what I want to hear. So how about this? Next Wednesday, on Wednesday night, you show me some violence. So yes, that match will happen this coming Wednesday. Women's champion was in a match, in a very bad match, as she couldn't even put Robin Renegade put Robin Renegade away in enough time to actually look like a dominant champion. She looked like shit in this match. The fact that Robin Renegade made her look like she was not even worthy of that championship just proves my point even more, that she fucking sucks. She needs to lose the championship, go to dark, and stay there, because you've done nothing but take that women's title and run it through the mud. You haven't made anybody look better. You've only made everyone look worse until the second that title is off your shoulders, and as soon as the TBS title is taken off of Jade, then the women's division could get where it needs to be. Because right now, it's in the fucking mud with the two worst women's in the company being your champions. I heard there was a list of top 10 worst matches in AEW in 2021. Guess who had 4 apparently? The women's champion. And yet, she's supposed to be the certified best wrestler in the women's division. You know, the person you should put your championship on? Nah. You don't put your championship on somebody who has 4 of the worst matches of 2021. Piss off. Alright. Hook versus Blake Lee. This was basically Hook just like QT Marshall's got this problem with Hook. I don't know what it is. He's probably jealous because Hook is more over than Nick Camarato, Aaron Solo, or QT Marshall, or even Anthony Onogo. And the dude hasn't even said 2 words. He comes out, He beats up his opponent, and he taps them out, and he walks to the back and doesn't give a shit about you or anybody else. So, it was pretty much Hook just dominating this Blake Lee guy, who apparently was Parker Lee in the Nightmare Factory showcases. Apparently, we've never seen this guy before, but if you watch the Nightmare Factory showcases they put on YouTube every once in a while, he's been there. That's where we got Julia Hart. And other ones that show up on Dark and Dark Elevation. But Hook wins this one. Not a problem. The guy, Blake Lee only got any offense because QT Marshall came off on the apron and distracted Hook. But Hook recovered, got him in the red rum, and that was that. Alright, let me find my mouse. Next Wednesday, we have Sammy Guevara versus Darby Allin for the TNT Championship. Chris Jericho and JK versus Santana Ortiz. Apparently, Eddie Kingston is cleared or is ready to come back from injury, so I could totally see this leading to Santana Ortiz turning heel on Chris Jericho and Jake Hager, and the inner circle of Jericho, Hager, and Sammy Guevara. If Sammy Guevara loses the TNT title to Darby Allin, just throw it out there. Say he loses it to Darby Allin or loses it to Andrade. What if we have at Revolution Santana Ortiz and Eddie Kingston versus Jake Hager, Chris Jericho, and Sammy Guevara? That'd be a good match. Mercedes Martinez, Thunder Rosa, no DQ match. Who gives a shit? Face of the Revolution qualifying match. Wardlow versus Max Caster. We should get Max Caster's funeral proceedings ready to get Max Caster's funeral arrangements going. And Bryan Danielson versus Lee Moriarty. Lee Moriarty's biggest match of his career. Next Friday, special start time 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. Face of the Revolution ladder match qualifying match. Dante Martin versus Powerhouse Hobbs. Trent Beretta versus Jay White. And that is all we know for now. Trent Beretta versus Jay White should be a damn good match. Hobbs and Dante Martin, I think, should have been stipulation besides, Face of Revolution. Make it a last man standing. Make it a no DQ match. Make it something. These guys were beating the heck out of each other after Powerhouse Hobbs beat up his opponent and won on, Tuesday? On Dark? Let these guys go out there and beat the hell out of each other in some kind of stipulation match. Give us something. Give us a Falls Count Anywhere match, or no DQ match, or I wouldn't say Lights Out because it's got a Face of the Revolution qualifying match and you need the rest of the count. Give us something, man. We're going to be, next week? When are they going to be next week? No. Wherever the fuck they're going to be at. Oh, no. I have no idea where they're going to be next week. Time for the main event. Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus versus Colton and Austin Gunn. A.K.A. with the dad, Billy Ass and the Ass Boys. Thank you, Danhausen. Jungle Boy and Austin Gunn trade some starts. Austin takes down Jungle Boy with a shoulder block. Jungle Boy delivers his own shoulder block. Now, this was a really good match. Now, here's my thing. Austin and Colton Gunn. When was the last time we saw them on television? The night they turned heel on Paul White? Around Double or Nothing last year? All Out last year? I think it was All Out. So, how are they number one contenders? Oh, that's right. They've done nothing but beat jobbers after jobbers after jobbers on Dark. Majority of the people who are watching Rampage don't watch Dark. Majority of the people who watch on Wednesday night don't watch Dark. The Dark shows are for the core, hardcore audience who are going to watch everything and anything that AEW puts out. But you're going to have guys like Austin Gunn, like the Gun Club, and the Acclaimed, who we do see everyone more on TV than we do Austin and Colton Gunn. But when was the last time these guys had a match on television? It's been a good long while. So, it's just one of those things that annoys me about the top 10 list. Now, when Adam Cole goes for the AEW World Title at Revolution, he's had majority of his matches on television. It hasn't been, he's wrestled on Dark 9 times out of 10. No, he's had 2 matches on Dark, but he's won all his other matches on TV. the lights out match does not count. Everyone needs to let that go. It's just, I don't know. It's like one of those things that you see Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy against Private Party last week. When was the last time Private Party had a big match or a match on television? It's been a while. They've been in Dark and Dark Elevation. So, yeah, this was a good match. It really was. And I wish we had seen... It's like... One of the problems I'm having with this whole entire, like, record thing is... 9 times out of 10, the person who... And the TNT, TBS title, they don't count because anybody can challenge for those. Those get an open challenge to them. And apparently it could be either the champion. We've seen both champions do that. And we've also had both championships be... Like, somebody, like, challenge them. Whatever. But... For the main titles, the world, the tag team, and the women's title, majority of the time you're going to see the number one contender build their resume on Dark in squash matches. And they need to change that. Give me Billy and Colton Gunn on TV every once in a while. Give me the women's champion, give me everything that you want to see. I mean, yeah, Adam Cole is on TV all the time. Yes, he is the number one contender. He is going to the Revolution, and he's not winning the AEW World Title. Hangman Adam Page is holding on to that title until we get to Double or Nothing, when MJF, after he's done with CM Punk, starts setting his sights for the AEW World Title, and just starts getting match after match after match after match, and winning the championship against Hangman in May. If you don't like it, I don't know what to tell you. Adam Cole, it's too early. Adam Cole beats whoever beats MJF. That's on me. That's all I'm just saying. So, good match here. Austin goes to the famous, so Jungle Boy misses, avoids it. Hits the kill switch. 1, 2, 3. And the Jurassic Express pick up the win. Now, having him hit the kill switch is very telling because it just feels like it adds another seed to what will eventually be the Lucha, like, Jungle Boy versus Christian Cage match. They might stretch this out to Double or Nothing. I think I believe if it wasn't for Phoenix's injury, which is like the spot where they had Phoenix get power choke slammed through the table, which again, Luchasaurus should not have jumped through as well. But they did that spot so it would be Jungle Boy being turned on and not Luchasaurus. But the injury happened. They had to switch the titles, which honestly, it just feels like the Jurassic Express have done more. They have defended the titles more than the Lucha Bros did. I don't know what it was, but it just felt like the Lucha Bros were not. They gave them the titles, and then they just didn't have anything for them. And that sucks. You did all that building up and all that chicanery and everything to give us that championship match in that cage, that match of the year last year. My match of the year last year. And you just, I don't know, you just didn't do anything with it. They won the titles and then they just felt like I don't know. Want to celebrate, so that's the show. We move on to SmackDown, which starts off with Sonya Deville. From the Smoothie King Center in New Orleans, Louisiana, they will be here for the next 2 weeks. As they are currently taping the next episode of SmackDown, or they're probably done by now. They probably started at 10. And you gotta think about everything with all of the, what do you want to call it? So they're definitely they're taping the show tonight. It'll be there next week because they're going to Saudi Arabia for next Saturday, and the talent don't have to be done with the show and be on planes immediately. They could leave Thursday night if they have to. So the show starts with Sonya Deville. She's upset because she says that what happened last week with Ronda Rousey was an unprovoked attack. People like Rousey and Naomi have no respect for authority. She doesn't care if you're Rousey, Naomi, or anyone else on the roster. There will be consequences for your actions. He said she petitioned upper management today for them to fine her $100,000 and suspend her indefinitely, which gets a massive set of boos. Pierce comes out and says, Deville, I'm sorry, you haven't been checking your emails since you've been out here. But here's an email from the chairman and CEO, Vince McMahon himself. He ruled that Deville has been taking matters into her own hands and abusing her power. And this is rich. He could not stand an official that abuses their power. Coming from Vincent Kennedy McMahon, who all he ever did was abuse his power in storyline. So the petition is declined, but Deville also must face the consequences of her actions, and she cannot lay her hands on Naomi. If Deville disobeys McMahon, her job will be in serious jeopardy. Out comes Naomi to rub salt in the wound. She says, wow, Deville, have you never been ripped the new one by your own boss? She also points out that Vince's email said nothing about Naomi being able to put her hands on Deville, so she slaps the taste out of her mouth. Sonya orders security to get Naomi out of the ring. Naomi taunts her and walks away. So, because the Super Bowl is this weekend, Matt McAfee is not here tonight, so it's Cole and Corey Graves, which is fine. Not a problem with Corey Graves being on commentary with Michael Cole. They had some great chemistry last time they were on commentary together. The New Day take on Los Lotharios because that was the main event last week, and because Vince McMahon loved it so much, let's have it again. Now, you're wondering, what is WWE going to do this week? Last week, we had a damn good main event, and we had the New Day go over because that's how we get new talent over. We have the New Day win. Which apparently, they're not the New Day, they're just Big E and Kofi Kingston because WWE and Vince McMahon is very adamant as separating them from the New Day and having Big E still be a single star once Xavier Woods comes back from injury, whenever that may be. So we have the match here, and you're wondering yourself, what could they do this week? Well, we get the New Day winning it. This was another good match, I will not deny. Both teams did pretty fucking well. I will not deny this at all. But what is the one problem WWE has in their repertoire? Something they do all the fucking time. Something that is guaranteed to get nobody over. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. This was 50-50 booking. Los Lotharios pick up the win as Angels tangles with Kofi and gets a sneaky pin for the win. 50-50 booking where nobody gets over. 50-50 booking where everyone who had momentum the previous week loses it the next. This is what you get, 50-50 booking. And apparently, Los Lotharios are now being billed as lethal lovers. And they have a kiss cam. They walk up to a plant and give her both a kiss on each cheek. Good for them. Raiders backstage with the Viking Raiders. They start talking, but the Usos beat the hell out of them. And then they take their headgear and walk away. Roman backstage is getting suited up for an interview. Paul Heyman's with him. Back to commercial break. Michael Cole is backstage with Paul Heyman and Universal Champion Roman Reigns. Cole brings up how Hall of Famer Goldberg did in WCW and says if this was WCW, everyone would still be winning because WCW would still be in business. Cole then asks about Goldberg being the champion twice before, including when he dominated Brock Lesnar at Survivor Series in 2016, which was on his way to win his first Universal title in February of 2017. Yes, Goldberg has won the Universal Championship not once, but twice, both in the month of February. Losing it at WrestleMania both times, by the way. Reigns laughs at Goldberg and Lesnar and is tired of talking about Lesnar. Reigns says no one cares about Goldberg being a two-time Universal Champion because we don't. He's here and now, and he's the greatest Universal Champion of all time. And if Goldberg came back here right now, he'd be smacked in the face. Cole asks if they've added pressure for the Elimination Chamber match against Goldberg, as it was nixed from WrestleMania 2 years ago because Roman did the smart thing and stayed home and take care of his family. He says not at all because all the pressure is on Goldberg. He says Goldberg may have a chance 2 years ago, but now, not so much. Everything is different. He's changed. The world's changed. Reigns is untouchable. He's going to smash Goldberg. He says he snaps his finger and Heyman warns him that he'll be out of here. What we're about to hear is a spoiler, not a prediction. Reigns looks like the camera says he is going to Goldberg out. He's going to Goldberg, and that's the end of the segment. Pretty much spear, jackhammer, be done, all that. Dungeon style match, even though they didn't bill it at this. Aaliyah versus Natalya. As we know, Aaliyah has irked Natalya over the last few weeks. beating her in 3 minutes and 17 seconds, beating her by disqualification, and then beating her by countouts. So tonight, you have to win by pinfall or disqualification. Pinfall or submission. There's no DQ, no countout. Basically, it's a no disqualification match. You could have just called it that. So the match didn't go very long. Aew gets put into the single lab and then into the sharpshooter. Aew drags herself to the ropes, but finally gets it in, but there's no rope breaks. Natalya keeps hold, and Aew has to tap out. After the bell, Natalya picks her up. Music hits, but stops when she mounts Aew and strikes. Out comes Xia Li, and Natalya charges, but Lee unloads but strikes. Then the big knee and kick. Xia Li unloads with more offense and drops Natalya, sending her to the floor. Retreating, Natalya looks on from the floor as Lee stands tall in the ring while her music starts back up. She tends to Aew as Natalya looks on from the ram. So basically, you did all this building with making, all this momentum you gave to Xia Li. Not Xia Li, but Aew. Having her win time and time again, only to lose the feud and be a stepping stone to Xia Li and Natalya. How is Aew supposed to be over, and how is people supposed to give a shit about Aew after this? It's like, I don't want to see Aew anymore. I want to see Xia Li beat up on Natalya. And knowing WWE the way they like to book, Natalya will take on Xia Li, and Xia Li is going to lose. That's just how they like to do things. They have a nice little video package of Rocky Johnson narrated by The Rock. That's pretty cool. In the ring with Zayn, don't really give a shit about this stupid podcast shit. Don't care. They talk for a bit. Rick Boogs gets made fun of, and then Sammy rips the Boogs, but Boogs yells at him to shut up and fans pot. He grabs one of the mics, but he falls. He falls out electrocuted. It appears Sammy acted like he's concerned for Boogs. Nakamura is distracted as he's checking on Boogs, eats a haluva kick, and that is that. We see how last week with Drew McIntyre taking out Madcap Moss with Baron Corbin. Watch Corbin and Moss are backstage. Moss has a shine on from last week. Corbin is ready for his match against Cesaro, but Moss says he has to sit this one out so he can get his eye checked out. He says maybe the doctor won't medically clear him for his match with McIntyre. Corbin walks off as Moss touches his eye. Cesaro versus Corbin. I fell asleep during this match because this was just like snooze city. Scotch neutralizer. Cesaro runs into an uppercut. Corbin blocks the neutralizer. Cesaro runs into an uppercut. Corbin hits Cesaro with in the throat, possibly inadvertently, possibly my ass. Keeps fighting, hits in the end of days. 1, 2, 3. And Corbin picks up the win. The end of days, mind you, is the only finisher, if I'm correct, in the last, since he started using it, that nobody has kicked out of. People have kicked out of the spear. Brock Lesnar's kicked out of the spear. Roman Reigns has kicked out of the F5. Nobody has kicked out of the end of days. The fact that you have this type of guy having a finisher that's not been kicked out of is just a shame. That finisher needs to be somebody else that actually can use it. Malcolm Moss is backstage with the trainer now about his eyesight. He suggests maybe the match should be canceled. The medic gives him an eye test, but McIntyre interrupts and puts his sword in Moss's face. Tells him to pressures him to tell him the trainer, "Oh, my vision is fine." He says he talked to Adam Pearce in the match, and the stipulation will now be a Falls Count Anywhere match. Threatens him with the sword again, and then walks off. Again, I was asleep during most of this because this was boring. Woke up for this though, and then I fell back to sleep. Goldberg is discussing the upcoming match with Universal Champion Roman Reigns, and I could not give shit what he has to say. And we get our main event here: Naomi versus Charlotte 9000. Before that, announced next week in a face-off with Goldberg as Roman Reigns plus Sami Zayn's Intercontinental title match with Shinsuke Nakamura. Out comes Naomi, waits for the SmackDown Women's Champion to make her way out. She stops in the entranceway and shows off the pyro goes off. Charlotte enters the ring, they get their formal introductions, and then we have ourselves a damn good match. Naomi is highly underutilized and highly valuable, undervalued in WWE. They should be using this woman a lot more than they do. She honestly should have a couple more title reigns under her belt. This match here tonight showed that when all comes said and done, and we get through the Ronda Rousey Show About 9000 match, nobody's going to care about that match. This could have been a match you saw at WrestleMania. This could have been a match you saw on pay-per-view. This was a damn good match. Did you think that Charlotte was losing this title? Are you fucking kidding me? Judges the view. Chop blocks face first into the mat. Natural selection 1, 2, 3. Charlotte wins the match. After the match, Sonya Deville enters the ring still with her arm in the sling and kneels down, taunting Naomi in the face. Naomi gets back up to her feet, then just starts beating the piss out of Sonya Deville, lefts and rights. Charlotte makes the save from behind, then drops Naomi with a big boot. Deville stomps and punches on Naomi for some more until the music hits, and out comes Ronda Rousey. Rest of the ring, she knocks out Deville. She beats up Flair. Charlotte sends them packing. Rousey and Naomi look on from the ring as the show goes off the air. And that was SmackDown tonight. SmackDown was meh. I don't care anything with Goldberg. I don't care about anything. Like, the Women's Championship match was fine. It was fine. It was good. The opening match was good too. Los Lotharios should have beat the New Day last week. They should have beat them tonight as well. And then we move on to them being possibly if the Viking Raiders somehow pull out a championship win on next Saturday, which they won't. Being a tag team title contender very, very soon. Don't know though. But that was your SmackDown and Rampage review. SmackDown just continues to suffer with little to no talent. What are they going to do with Roman Reigns? A, loses that championship because Vince McMahon booked it like an idiot. Or B, gets injured. Or C, has a medical scare and has to vacate the title. They got nobody. Whereas Rampage and AEW just continues to just give us good matches. They're not perfect. I mean, the Women's Champion had no business being on the show tonight. But yeah, that is your AEW and Rampage and SmackDown review. Hit that subscribe button. Comment down below. Like or dislike this video. Find me on Minds at the Frowns Club. Find me on twitch.tv/The Frowns Club. And find me on Instagram at The Frowns Club. And I will see you guys on Monday for Raw. Until then, my name is The Frowns, and I'll see you guys later.